As long as there's glass inside the tank. The glass in the tank is clear. The color you see is just a radiant heat coming off of it. George has got a small wood block. He's actually shaping and cooling this gather, get everything running nice and evenly on the end of the iron. And in just a couple seconds, he'll put some air in the other end of that iron cap with his thumb. That'll pressurize that glow iron. And if you watch right out here on the end right here, you'll see an air bubble come right out into that piece of glass.
Watch, Nick. Watch, Nick.
There we go. So this is the starter bubble for our piece. Probably got enough glass there to make a small little goblet or something. We're going to make a pitcher for you here this morning. And in order to do that, we're going to go back to the furnace and actually gather up a little bit more glass. George will do a little bit more shaping with that small wood block. And then he's going to take some compressed air. And he's going to cool this bubble down just a little bit. We want to cool it down so we can go back into the furnace and actually gather over it without it collapsing in on itself. So he's probably getting that bubble down to maybe somewhere around 1200 degrees or so.
Speaker.
A little more surface area there on the end of the iron. We'll probably pick up about 2 to 3 times as much glass right here. There we go. Quite a bit more glass. Back to the bench. I'm going to grab a larger wood block this time. Basically do the same thing. Shape and cool this gather as he shapes and cools this gather. He's reheating that bubble in the middle. The blocks we're using are true wood blocks. These are apple and cherry wood blocks. We use fruit woods because it's a very dense wood.
It's shaping it.
Actually burns out very evenly. And they last quite a long time. Normally about a year or so before we have to replace them. And we leave them in water 24 hours a day. They're virtually waterlogged. Glass is drying on a layer of steam ash inside the block. This is a felt pad or piece of felt with crushed graphite in it with a little wet pad inside of it. About as close as you'll ever get to shaping glass with the palm of your hand. It actually takes a little act of fate. First time you ever tried using one of these. You think grab a wet rag and grab 2,000-degree glass and not end up with a nasty burn. George heated up the skin of the glass. He's going to drop that glass into what we call an optic mold. Give it a little puff, force the glass right out into the ribs. There we go. The glass did not stick to the mold because the mold is cold, and hot glass will not stick to cold things. That's why we preheat the ends of all of our irons over here in this iron warmer. We need to get them up to a temperature.
It's showing inside. There's a camera inside.
Come back to the bench. Going to take and start to expand the bubble. Hot glass is very easy to blow up. Actually, a lot easier than blowing up a balloon. Doesn't take much air pressure at all. Any one of you can come up here and blow this up. Probably blow it into the end of that iron about as hard as you would to blow out a candle. Cutting a restriction right there off the end of the iron. That'll be the top of a pitcher a little later on. Offhand glass working. We build everything from the bottom up. As he squeezes it, he's actually creating a weak spot in the glass right here. Kind of like when you open up the Hershey bar and you see the little lines between the chocolate nuggets. Basically what we're doing right there. We want that glass snap right on that line. A little later on, we're going to take this piece from the blow iron. Going to expand that a little bit further. You can see those beautiful ribs in there now. Kind of bend and reflect the light. George, take a graphite paddle right here. He'll flatten up the bottom of the piece. And the next thing we're going to do is begin to work on the upper part of our pitcher. To do that, we are going to transfer that piece of glass right there from that iron to this iron right here. This iron is called a punny iron. It's just a solid nose iron. I'm just going to gather up a little bit of glass on the end of it. And we're going to use this glass just like a glue to make the transfer. Before we do that, I'm going to shape it up over here and cool it down a little bit. I want to cool this piece of glass down so we can connect it to the bottom of the piece, but in such a way we can get it off fairly easily a little later on. George will take some tweezers, he'll grab that iron, and we'll attach it right there. Keep everything running nice and straight. So cool that punny just a little bit. Scored the upper part of the piece with that saw. The saw actually has crushed industrial diamonds in it. Tap the iron, and off we go. We're right on that line. So we're going to go back over here to our reheating unit. This unit's running at over 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, about 300 degrees hotter than our furnace. And if you're looking up on the monitors, you can actually see inside this unit. We have a camera on the back side shining through a few silicone window. And it's the same glass they use in the space shuttle's windshields. Actually developed right here in the Corning area back in the 1930s. Number of doors on that unit, so we can make a fairly good sized piece of glass. You see one of the burners, there's two 6-inch burners in there. Everything up here runs on natural gas and forced air.